Hello, I am Mrs. Arnold, and in this video we will talk about water erosion and deposition. The main idea is that erosion transports weather material across Earth's surface until they are deposited. So remember, erosion is the transport of material, not the breaking down of the material that is weathering. These are the main ideas you should be able to answer at the end of the video. So what is the relationship of gravity to all agents of erosion? What features are characteristic of water erosion and deposition? So erosion is the removal of weathered rock and soil from its original location, and there are different ways material is moved or different ways material is eroded. This can be by water, ocean currents, waves, wind, and glaciers. Deposition is when eroded materials are dropped in another location. So eroded means that these materials have moved. So obviously the agents of erosion cannot carry these materials forever. Eventually they are going to be deposited somewhere. Gravity is going to play an important role in erosion. This is because materials like to go downslope, and that is due to gravity pulling them downslope. We have one form of water erosion, which is erosion caused by runoff. This develops rill erosion. This is when we get small channels in a side of a slope, which you might see around town in some places. And when the channel gets deeper and wider, then it's known as gully erosion. So right here, basically what's happening is that the dirt that would be in that channel has been carried away, which is why it is erosion. We also have erosion by stream. So a stream is going to be flowing water. And moving water can really reshape entire landscapes. And the erosion of how much a stream can erode is going to be greatest with a large volume of water that is moving rapidly. Also, water going down a steep slope has a great erosive potential also due to gravity. Streams can carve steep valleys. So they're not just going to be passively flowing down slope. As they flow down slope, they are also carving out the landscape. They are cutting down valley walls and floors. They create V-shaped valleys, and that is in contrast to what glaciers create, which are U-shaped valleys. And streams can have destructive results. Because they carry away fertile soil. that is just one example of a destructive result. Obviously, the material that's in the stream won't be carried forever. It will eventually be deposited, and this leads to deposition. So sediment is going to be deposited when stream is too cool, when the stream is too slow to keep it suspended. So we can see this in a few places. One place we can see this at is when a river enters the ocean, the current is going to slow and the stream deposits sediment as a result. This creates river deltas, which is the picture at the bottom here. So that happens at the mouth of a river where the stream meets the ocean. So that's going to cause the river to slow down, and that's why you get that deposition there. And then the picture up top is an alluvial fan, and you can think of this as a delta that happens on land. So right here, how this occurs is we have a stream that is descending. So that descends a steep slope and reaches a flat plane. So on that flat plane, the speed of stream decreases and sediment falls out. So these are some features that are made by stream deposition in erosion. When we're on flat ground, the stream forms meanders. The meanders are the bends in the stream. And on a flat ground, the stream channel is going to erode the sides more than the bottom. That's another thing that happens. So if you kind of can think about this, there's a few times usually that you hear about that the Mississippi River has to be dredged because the river is too shallow for barges to pass through, so they have to go through and dig out the bottom. You notice the Mississippi is an old river. We know it's old because it's nice and wide and shallow. But back to meanders. So these meanders, these bends in the river, are going to form because of erosion in deposition caused by moving water. So the water is going to erode or carry away sediment on the outside of the curves, and they deposit the sediment on the inside of the curves. So right here where you see the yellow, that's the outside of the curves, and that's where the erosion is taking place. And on the inside, that's where the deposition is going to be happening. And so that is why we get a bend in the river. And then over time, these curves do shift position. And also, eventually, a meander will be cut off from the rest of the river, and you get something called an oxbow lake, which is, of course, what Horseshoe Lake is. Horseshoe Lake was a meander in the Mississippi River, and now it's a lake. So more features made by stream deposition and erosion that we've mentioned in the last slide was the Oxbow Lake, V-shaped valleys, beaches, because sediment is carried from rivers to the coastline. We have alluvial fans, deltas, meanders, and also flood plains. If we look here, these things are going to be our things that are deposition. So the floodplain is deposition, the delta is deposition, alluvial plain is deposition. The meander, once again, is actually both deposition and erosion happening there. Okay, so what is happening at the coastline? So at the coastline, we have erosion occurring by waves and also by currents. We have the longshore current. So the longshore current is going to pick sand particles up from the beach and moves the sediment in a zigzag motion along the beach in one direction. So this is why areas like downstream of the longshore current will probably have bigger beaches, because that's where the sand is going to be piling up. And then upstream of the longshore current, the sand is being taken away, so the beaches might not be as wide. So as you can see, the longshore current is running along the shore, and the sand particles are being pushed onto the shoreline and then moved back out by the waves. And as they do that, they're being pulled down also by the longshore current. So then our net movement of the sand grades is just along where the current is pulling it. So deposition by waves in currents. So a beach is a depositional landform that is formed from this. So this is the area of shoreline made of material deposited by waves. So waves deposit sediment to form beaches. And remember that beach sediment is brought to the coast by rivers or streams, And in this picture, we can see that this is a picture of Hawaiian Beach, and you can see that it has black sand. So some beaches in Hawaii are made of black sand from volcanic rock. And they get that because they're getting the sediment that's coming in from the streams. Some erosional coastal landforms are listed here. We have a sea cave. So that is pictured in this picture, but we can also see a sea cave here, an actual for real sea cave. And we have sea arches. Once the waves have broken through the end of that cave, the back of that cave wall, that's how we get a sea arch. And then eventually this part will get eroded, and we have something called a sea stack that remains. Okay. And then this picture, we can see something called wave cut terraces. And these are leveled platforms that form from the base of a sea cliff. So depositional coastal landforms. Remember, we have our longshore current that is moving all the sand, a net movement of sand in its direction. And some things that we can see here that can be formed. We have sand spits. We have sand bar, which we can see right here. That's a sandbar. Those can build up and create barrier islands. And an example of a barrier island that is created from a sand bar that built up is right in this picture. And this is a picture of, let me write out an example actually. This is a picture of the Outer Banks of North Carolina. It's features like these actually that serve to protect the main coastline from things like hurricanes. So these barrier islands in North America, most of these are going to be located along the Atlantic coast and in the Gulf region, so like near Texas, if you want to think of that. And they protect the mainland from erosion that is caused by hurricanes. So hopefully you understand that shorelines are built by both deposition and they are destroyed by erosion. So some factors here are going to be changing tides in coastal storms. Another thing, when we think about how humans interact with this system, so humans do try to control the erosion of sand because, you know, we don't like when our beaches disappear. But by doing that, it can deplete sand in another place. And then they won't have their beach. So it can deplete sand from another area because it stops the natural migration of sand. Okay, so today we learned about water as an agent of erosion and how it can make different erosional features that we can see that's caused by water, and also the depositional features that are caused by water. Have a wonderful day.